Of course, my mic's been off this entire time. But
it has. I can hear you.
Yeah, say la vie. But we'll start all over because that was a beautiful little thing. Craig, we'll just run it back. You know what? I was gonna
run it back.
I was gonna run the intro again, but guys, thank you so much for being here. The Bengals down 34-17 here in their first preseason game. Me and Craig here on Chatterbox Bengals, and you would have guessed that the first time being on VMix in about 6 months that we would have some problems, but here we are. And listen, Joe Burrow walked out onto that field today, and all the woes, me and Craig both were under weather. We were texting about it. We were talking about it. But you watch Joe Burrow go on the field, and he kind of alleviates all of that problems. And, Craig, I just went on a long tangent that nobody heard. What did you think about Joe Burrow's performance?
Well, look, I mean, Joe Burrow came into the night with 8 career preseason passes for his entire career. He completed more tonight than he had attempted in his career up until this point. And we're talking about a guy going into his 5th season. So obviously they're taking this offseason different. To me, obviously the conversation around Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart has kind of drowned the new approach of this Bengals to this preseason and the way they're approaching it. But for me, they came out and they did exactly what they wanted to do. They came out, they put a stamp on this first game. They showed them that this offense is still for real. And it's funny because they talk about wanting to get off to a hot start. How come we couldn't do this in week 1 last year? How come we're out here in the first preseason game being able to show out, but we couldn't do it in week 1 last year against the New England Patriots? I don't know. But nonetheless, Joe Burrow looked great. Started right off the bat. He completed it through his first pass incomplete and then rattled off 9 straight completions to finish out his day. He ended up going just about a quarter, 2 drives. Finishes 9 for 10, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Thought he looked good. Obviously, Jamar Chase, vintage, especially on that touchdown catch.
Yep.
A little bit of an out route, catches it, stops on a dime, turns back to the inside, and he's gone. We've seen him do that so many times now, just his ability to change direction. And so it definitely looks like this offense is on track to be the offense of 2024, if not even better. And obviously Joe Burrow and his health is going to be a key part of that for this season.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying when no one heard me. I had this long, drawn-out monologue about Joe Burrow taking the link. You know, he shows up in this blue T-shirt, and it's not Joe Burrow vibes, and you're just like, this dude looks like he's laid back, but then his play goes on the field, and it's anything but laid back. 9 of 10, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, a passer rating of 157. I said this earlier, but that's not a stat line. That's a statement. And I don't want to make too much out of preseason games. I don't think this is a preseason cameo. This was Burrow saying, I'm healthy, I'm locked in the AFC better buckle up. And that's, I mean, ever since Joe Burrow's been the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, we've fallen in love with him. And it's easy to understand why, right? This is a city that's hungry for Cincinnati Bengals and anything good, really hungry for big personalities and winning more than anything else. And he's brought that to us. So it's not hard to understand why we are so enamored by Joe Burrow. He's one of the best 4 quarterbacks in the league. And the one thing that you can say other than his injuries, obviously that's a problem that I've already brought it up, but we try not to bring up too often. Other than that, the only thing that you really can say about Joe Burrow's career is he starts slow. Ever since they drafted him, they're 1-9 in the first 2 weeks of the season. 1-9. And I'll give the Bengals credit here. I'll give the Bengals credit because for the first time, maybe in any of the teams that I root for, the Cincinnati Bengals try things to alleviate problems. And now for 5 years, 1-9, slow starts, Joe Burrow, sometimes it was preseason injuries and he's not getting the reps preseason that he so desperately wanted and needed to get ready. But they're trying to take steps about, all right, what has happened now every year that you've been our quarterback, this can no longer be the case. The first year, your rookie season, c'est la vie. The second season, The only win that they've had in the first 2 weeks came against the Minnesota Vikings week 1. He has a game-winning drive in OT, and they obviously go into the Super Bowl. Expectations are high, 0-2. Come back, AFC Championship, expectations are high, 0-2. Then they have a 9-7 season with a hurt quarterback, 9-8 season with Joe Burrow hurt most of the season. Against the hardest schedule that the Bengals have, or that anyone in the NFL has ever had. So expectations for a healthy Joe Burrow, once again high, 0-3 start. So I guess it's just refreshing. And I know that the Bengals, in the grand scheme of things, aren't thought of as some forward-thinking franchise or anything like that. But as a fan, you can take something out of the fact that they are actively trying to alleviate problems of the past by letting Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins go out there for 2 drives tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Zac Taylor and this front office recognize the need for change. We talk about the offseason changes that they made in the coaching staff. They go out and bring in Scott Peters to lead the offensive line. We'll talk about them a little bit later.
Yep.
Bring in a new linebacker coach, bring in a number of new personnel across the entire coaching staff. Now they come out, they're having starters play 2 series in the first preseason game. Expectation is that starters are going to go an entire half next week. We saw, obviously, in Netflix's quarterback, Joe Burrow, and his disdain for how last year went. There's no doubt we've seen throughout his entire career how Joe Burrow can take moments or challenges and turn them into completely different outcomes, right? We saw all the way back to his collegiate career when he got knocked on his butt and then went on the epic run to win the national championship. We've seen him come back from a torn ACL. We now saw him last year come back from a wrist. Now he's trying to come back from a 9-8 season where they completely missed expectations despite how well they all played. And Joe Burrow, as a leader, I don't think is going to allow this team to perform the same way that they performed last year. And we started to see him speak up more as the season went on last year. It'll be interesting to see if he doesn't do that from the jump this year.
I gotta ask you a question. When we're talking about Joe Burrow and how things have progressed throughout his career, this is preseason, right? So you can make mountains out of molehills, anthills, whatever the saying is. And for some reason, maybe it was just a hunger to watch the Cincinnati Bengals play football again. Maybe it is just a passion for perhaps my favorite professional athlete ever in Joe Burrow. But when I saw the same video that you see every week throughout the year, because he is some, whatever you want to make of it. I know there's a lot of football guys in here and they just want to talk football, but Joe Burrow has a big personality. People, he's going on Fashion Week and all this stuff like that. And he just shows up to the link, and he just shows up to the game, and it's, just wearing casual gear. Nothing flashy about it. You can say that that's nothing, and maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe I am making a mountain out of a molehill. But for me, that's everything you do, you are communicating. The clothes you wear, the people you hang out with, the job that you take, the things you say, the things you put online, you are communicating something. And by Joe Burrow showing up in a T-shirt, as dumb as this sounds, showed me he's like, all right, this is serious. I ain't done. I'm done with all this other stuff. This is football now. And it's cool not only to see him go out there, go 9 of 10, and torch the reigning Super Bowl champs, third string defense, whatever you want to say about that. But you're hearing these things. Kay Adams is talking to Zac Taylor, and Zac's like, I'm telling you, I think he's gotten better. And you're like, well, I don't even know how that's possible, because I don't know how that offense could get better. And then Joe's out here saying, this is the best I've thrown a football in years. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It just we only have so limited information. We've seen him now in one preseason game. You can see the clips from practice on x.com and all that, but maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. It just something feels different going into this year. Maybe it's just excitement. I don't know, Craig, but that's the kind of fan I am.
Well, I think there's something to it. There has to be something to it. There's always something to everything, Reed. Whether
Right.
we whether we want to admit it or not, there's something to everything.
Right.
And ultimately, for me, it's Joe Burrow is saying we're focused on football. We're not focused on the fashion right now. We're not focused on me. We are focused on football and this team winning a Super Bowl, and that's the only thing that matters in 2025 is this team succeeding and reaching its expectations. And we don't need to worry about me showing up in fur coats or showing up in designer jeans or whatever it may be. I'm showing up and I'm balling out, and you can worry about how good I look on the field and not have to worry about how good I look walking to the locker room anymore. Let's
Right.
focus on the field.
Right.
And I think there's something to that. I mean, this is the first time really in his career that at least that I can remember that he's been this kind of toned down and
Yeah.
showing up in this kind of an outfit. So, I mean, there's definitely something to it. Now we'll see once the regular season comes around, does he do the same? Who knows? But for now, he's all business, and I think that's really the most important piece of this whole conversation is Joe Burrow in this offense is all business right now, and it showed in the two drives that they got on the first for the first team. You mentioned it already. The first drive, 10 plays, 71 yards in 5 minutes. Second drive, uh, you know, 5 plays, 65 yards, 2 minutes and 32 seconds. I mean, 14 points in a little over 8 minutes for this first string offense. And it was all business. It was surgical. And they came out and they showed exactly what they were going to be about. And for Joe Burrow to show up in just t-shirt and jeans or whatever those black sweatpants are or whatever it is, and to say, hey, it's not about this. It'll be interesting to see if the reporters ask him about it after the game and see what he
Yeah.
says. I'm sure he'll try to downplay it, but I think the truth of the matter is that that's exactly what it is. We're here for business. We're here as a team, and we're here to win football games. And as much as I enjoy fashion, that's not my focus right now. My focus is on throwing the football and throwing it as well as I have.
God, we are doing preseason football shows so well. We're talking about the attire of the starting quarterback, and we're killing it. We're killing it right here. You know, the final thing that I'll put about this, about them, you know, getting a chance to play their starters, Jamar Chase with a touchdown, T. Higgins. We saw Tanner Hudson, kind of a bulldozer. He had a really nice play, held on to the football. So that's nice. He holds on to a football. We might have been playing postseason pigskin last year. But I mentioned this before. The Bengals are 1-9 in the first 2 weeks of Joe Burrow's career. Their first two games this year are against the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And those two teams had a combined 7 wins last year, off the top of my head. I think they had a combined 7 wins from those two teams. So maybe, hopefully, for the first time, we are walking into week 3 with a winning record in the Joe Burrow era and not playing from the hole. If you're a golfer, it'd be like starting every round down 3 or 4 strokes. It'd be, if you're a gambler, it'd be like putting money in the deposit and then losing half of it right away. That's what it feels like every season that starts off with the Cincinnati Bengals. But Craig, I'll ask this question to you. There were some things on, I guess, from both sides of the ball that were a little alarming. I know right guard was a big question mark going into this. What did you think of Lucas Patrick?
Well, so you mentioned Tanner Hudson. He just caught his second touchdown of the game. So shout
Heck
out
yes.
to Tanner Hudson on that. Look, at the end of the day, I think it's interesting that you had Dylan Fairchild and Lucas Patrick as your starting guards. We've heard a lot about Cody Ford this preseason. We've talked about that battle along the guard positions and what that'll look like. Lucas Patrick obviously picked up the penalty early in the game on, if I remember correctly, they called it an
Yep.
illegal chop block or something. He essentially tripped and fell in front of a defender that Amarius Mintz happened to be
We're
engaged with.
we're already getting screwed by the refs. It's preseason, Craig.
Already. Look, I only saw one rush of Joe Burrow the entire night, and it was by the defender that Lucas Patrick was responsible for. But it was a play that Joe Burrow got the ball away so quickly that it's not going to show up on the sheet. So I think in general we have to be pretty happy with the way that the offensive line performed today. Obviously, we'll go back and we'll watch film later on and pick up on what we can, but to have Dylan Fairchild, a rookie, step right in and be your starting left guard, the veteran and Lucas Patrick come in, get some starting reps as your right guard, and to not give up any pressures in the first half, really I think is a welcome change. Obviously, the Bengals didn't throw downfield a whole lot. It wasn't like Joe Burrow was trying to hold on to the ball too long. But on the flip side, and again, we talk about the defense, I thought that the defensive line of the Bengals did a good job getting pressure on the quarterback,
Yes.
but
Yes.
the secondary was not holding their defense long enough to allow them to actually get to Tanner McKee. So even though the D line was pressuring, they weren't getting the sacks, they weren't getting the hits because Tanner McKee was able to get the ball away so quickly because the secondary wasn't able to guard their men long enough. So it'll be interesting to see down the road. The secondary for me is the biggest challenge and the biggest hurdle that I saw in this entire game. Obviously, not to diminish his achievements by any manner, but when Tanner McKee comes out and slices and dices you and throws 20 to 25 for 252 and 2 touchdowns, not exactly the performance you were looking for
Hey,
out of
it's a
your
tough place
starting
to play.
secondary against a backup quarterback. So definitely work to be done on that end. The defense also did give up a 38-yard rush to Will Shipley early in the game that will have to be cleaned up on. Did feel like there were a number of missed tackles along the way from this defense as well. So look, it's game one in preseason game one, so I'm trying not to overreact here, but there's no doubt that there is work to be done on this defense. What was interesting to me, Reid, and I'll take your opinion on here, it felt like the conversation around Al Golden coming into this season was that he trusts his men, plays a lot of man defense, and basically tries to get home to the quarterback and allow his secondary to do their job. Felt like tonight they were playing a lot more zone than I expected them to play, which allowed Tanner McKee to kind of take them apart. So I'm interested to see if that's just Al Golden trying not to put too much on paper in this preseason and allow teams to scout him, or if this is truly just, hey, I don't really trust my guys in the back end one-on-one. We're going to have to play a lot of zone. We're going to have to try and bend, not break, which ultimately is going to match up to the kind of philosophy that they had in the past with Lou Anarumo.
Every good coach has a style that he prefers, but that is always superseded by the talent that you have. And Al Golden's new here, kind of, right? He was here a couple years ago. He was here when we went to the Super Bowl and all that good stuff. But you could say you like man-to-man when you're Notre Dame and you have great skill players and a skill advantage on the perimeter. When you can do that, then you come here where, the skill's not as great on that secondary. I thought going into last year, I actually liked the depth in the secondary. We'll see how things kind of play out from here. Listen, he's just looking at his team and he's just going to do what is always best for your roster. You can't put guys, listen, if I'm out there playing Justin Jefferson, I play for a defensive coordinator, I'm your cornerback, and you like playing man-to-man, but I'm one-on-one against Justin Jefferson, guess what? We're playing zone that day because I don't got it, right? So we'll see what happens. It's going to take time. This is a defense that has had the same defensive coordinator since 2018, I believe, 2019 in Lou. So new team. It's a guy who's been around here before. We'll see what all happens. When I looked at this preseason game, and I will implore everyone watching this chat, thank you so much for being here on Chatterbox Bengals. We have more content coming your way. I implore you, when you watch preseason games, to just look for one thing. You can kind of get mixed up. There's a billion players playing. You just want to watch the football game, but really zone in on one thing on each side of the ball. The first thing that I wanted to see was Joe Burrow. He looked like Joe Burrow. Every report that's come out is good. And then on the defensive side, I said, all right, what's the one thing I wanted to look for? What about the rookie first-round pick that we had that only had, everyone made a lot to do about his career stats, one career sack or whatever it was. And I thought he played pretty well. I thought he had some really nice plays. Shamar Stewart, I thought, had some really, really nice plays tonight. He, for a guy that hadn't been around for a lot of time, I thought he kind of fit in there pretty nice. I don't know what you thought of Shamar.
Yeah, I thought that in the limited opportunities that he had, he looked okay. He ended up with a tackle for loss, obviously, which was kind of the highlight of his night. I thought another guy that found the stat sheet was Taven Bryan, who was a free agent signing out of Jacksonville that had a sack tonight. But no, I mean the biggest thing is that they didn't stand out in a negative way, right? I mean, with this defense and the amount of missed tackles that they had last year and the knock against Shamar Stewart coming in out of college was that he didn't finish. You know, he was a beast getting pressure. He was a beast, forcing guys out of the pocket, but that he didn't necessarily finish, and that led to his low sack rate. So tonight he looked good. He was able to make his tackles when he needed to. Got that tackle for loss that created a situation for the Eagles, and ultimately, I think in the limited reps that he got, did what he needed to do. So um, we'll see. I would expect that he's one of those guys next week as he continues to adjust to this new system and get the playbook under him, that we're going to see a lot more out of him next week and a lot more opportunities. Because certainly this week it felt like he wasn't on the field as much as maybe you would expect a first round pick. I'm hopeful that that's just because he's still getting adjusted and he's getting in game shape and all of those things. But for him to play the limited snaps that he had and to still get on the snap sheet or on the stat sheet, I think is a positive first outcome for him. And ultimately, hopefully, the first step in what will be a productive season for him. And hopefully, we'll see more out of him next week as this Bengals team goes up against the Commanders.
So the other thing that we wanted to talk about was the special teams, and I thought that there were some nice things. Evan McPherson hit a 51-yard field goal, 3 for 3 on his extra points. They're still playing. They've got the ball. Let me see where they're at on the field. I don't have the game up in front of me.
Yeah, it's the 2-minute warning. So
but back to the special teams.
Chance to tie it up though, like you said. I mean, 2-minute warning, and they've got the ball in the 21-yard line. So let's see if they can't convert this 4th and 9 and go from there.
Yeah, so we see Ryan Rico, Evan McPherson, Jermaine Burton. Really, it's the slept-on thing in the 3 aspects of football. Offense, defense, and then special teams also matters. As we've seen, Evan McPherson didn't have the best year last year, and some might say that he's part of the reason that we missed out on the postseason. There's certainly some kicks that you'd hoped he made, and for when we went to the AFC Championship, a bad punt kept us out of the Super Bowl. So obviously special teams matter. It feels like it's never perfect here in Cincinnati. It feels like every time that we've got a good punter, kicker's not good, punter's not good, our return guy's inept. But all 3 phases of special teams tonight, kicking, returning, and punting, all had some nice things. Jermaine Burton with a 32-yard punt return, so it's good to see him still flash. I mean, there's a reason that he was thought of as a high talent. I don't know what your thoughts were on the special teams. I know that's something that you wanted to focus in pre-show when we talked.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a lot of it, but Evan McPherson, a guy who struggled last year before his injury, 2 for 2 with a 51-yarder, 3 for 3 on extra points. Ryan Rico, 5 punts, which obviously is more punts than we hope that he has to make the rest of the year, but 5 punts with an average of 45 yards per punt, had 2 of them inside the 20, include one of them that landed right on the 10-yard line. So I thought he looked good. You mentioned the Jermaine Burton punt return. He didn't return any punts or kicks in college. This is kind of new for him, and yet he rattled off a 32-yard punt return there. And then another one that I don't know that we're going to really talk about a whole lot as the season progresses, but interesting enough to note that Gary Brightwell, the running back, had 3 returns, averaged 31 yards per return on his kick returns, took one back 35 yards. Ultimately gave the Bengals decent starting field position every time they had the ball. And so I think the special teams, if they can continue to give the Bengals good field position, continue to convert on the opportunities they have from the field goal unit, I think this is going to ultimately lead to this Bengals team having good opportunities on offense, and that's what they need. So it's ultimately a 3-phase game. I am obviously not the biggest Darren Simmons fan, but in game 1, we'll tip our cap to the special teams unit and give them a congratulations on what they did, as the Bengals are unable to complete the 4th and 9, and will turn the ball over on downs to the Eagles. The Bengals will drop this one 34-27.
34-27 final score, and I guess we'll go ahead and update that here in the singular. Boom. But it is the final score, and listen, we were just excited as we get into the takeaways from this first preseason game. Like I said earlier, look for, as we go through these next two games, look for two things, whether it be, hey, I really want to focus in on who's playing right guard for this next game. Hey, I really want to focus on, our depth at pass rusher. Are we able to get back to the quarterback? Hey, what's our safety situation looking like? Whatever it is, focus on one or two things and really zone in on that. Whatever you think is going to be majorly important. The biggest thing is that, and I don't know if you had any deep breaths today while watching the game, but there is danger in playing your starters in the preseason game. There's a reason that a lot of the times the starters don't play in the preseason game, is because this game is physical. It's a collision course, and you don't want anybody to get hurt. That's going to be important to the season. And luckily, tonight, Ja'Marr Chase didn't get hurt. Joe Burrow didn't get hurt. T. Higgins, the whole starting team did not. No injuries to speak of. So Joe Burrow is going to get back on the plane and be at 100% Ja'Marr Chase. So I guess if you want one takeaway from me, it's that the dangers of playing your starting guys didn't come to fruition tonight. And the positives are you saw it. 2 touchdowns, 9 for 10, 120 yards, 157 passer rating, diced them up, and really only one negative play, and that was on a penalty. Never stepped back, one incomplete pass. Other than that, everything was moving forward, moving the chains, keeping it going. This offense continues to be. And listen, it's no secret what the Bengals' game plan is. Everyone in NFL media can make fun of it. But the Bengals are just quite literally going to see if they can score 45 points a game, and then hopefully their defense can hold up at the end of it. And you can laugh at it, but at least they have at least it's an ethos, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least they're going to, you know what you're getting out of them. It's going to be fun. And, hey, the one thing that we have is our offense, and the offense shined for 2 drives. So, Craig, what's your big takeaway from this preseason game?
Well, it was funny to have Duke Tobin on the broadcast, and Duke Tobin talked about their offensive identity. So certainly, top down, that is their plan, is to just score as many points as possible. The biggest takeaway for me is an improved offensive line. I mentioned it earlier in the game, or in the show. 2 drives for Joe Burrow, 0 pressures. I think that's a huge piece of this offensive success moving forward. Still a little concerned about the offensive line depth piece, but hopefully they'll get that under control, and hopefully everybody stays healthy. And then the secondary just getting absolutely torched time after time after time. So the hope is that this is just week 1 preseason, and that Al Golden can get things turned around, get the guys playing in the defense that he wants to play. But they certainly can't afford to give up 34 points a week and expect to be a Super Bowl contender this year. So positives on the offensive side, negatives on the defensive side, but positive outlook as it is, because it's preseason week 1.
Right.
Absolutely.
2 more preseason games. Me and Craig will be here. We're really excited to bring you Chatterbox Bengals. Craig, thank you for hopping on. We've got some really exciting things. Stone Shields joining the fold. I don't know if you've checked on our YouTube, but he's putting out some daily content on our YouTube. So he's really been a big help, and we're really excited for everything we're going to do. I do not have COVID that I'm aware of, but I am sick. And I was called a sissy by Nick Kirby for being a little sick and not wanting to do the show. He's like, you got to do the show, Reid. So I was like, all right, here I am. So, hey, it is what it is, and we're here, and I'm going to go home, get some rest. Craig, I know you were a little under the weather coming into today. Hopefully you feel a little bit better. Bengals fall by 7, 34-27 in the first preseason game. When was the last time we won a preseason game? I don't think we won one last year. I'm actually going to look that up. Bengals, that's going to be the final thing, because I think we started out the year last year 0-6.
Yep, we sure did.
If I recall correctly. So
we tied Atlanta in 2023, if that counts.
Oh, baby.
It wasn't a loss, but it was a tie in 2023. We won week 3 in 2022. 16-7 against the Los Angeles Rams. So basically, what is it now? We are 0-6-1 over the last 2+ seasons in preseason football.
we really shine in November and December. So if they played preseason football in November or December, then we'd be really, really good. Unfortunately, they played in August, where I'm not sure if Zac Taylor knows how to win a football game in August. But, hey, if I could take a coach that can win, if you ask me right now, would you rather be really good in September or really good in January and December? I know what I take every single time. But for Craig Sandlin, Chatterbox Sports, I'm Marine Mouse. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We're going to get the wheels underneath us. We're going to figure this out. Joe Burrow figured it out for the first 2 drives. This defense, Al Golden, give them time. Cincinnati Bengals, they'll be back next week. I think it's next Monday for our next
Monday
pregame
night.
show.
Monday Night Football rematch of the Monday Night Football matchup from last year with the Washington Commanders. So with Burrow playing the first half, we'll see if Jaden Daniels matches that and plays a significant amount on their side as well, because that'll be quite the matchup that they do.
What's the first half over if Jaden Daniels plays in that first half?
Oh my God, if they both play, I mean, the over-under has got to be like 48.5.
Right. All right, Craig. Craig, thank you so much for dropping in. Thank you, everyone that was in here today. Thank you to the Chatterbox Red guys for giving us a lead-in, Kirby and Trace. And thank you so much for everyone that's here. We'll see you next time here on Chatterbox Bengals.